We're back here at the World Equestrian Center in Ocala, Florida for day 2 of the 2024 DEKA Fit World Championship competition. We're getting a little shorter and a lot faster today with the DEKA Mile. I am Xander Keene. He is Luke Halterman. Luke, we had a great day of elite individual and team action yesterday. A lot of those same faces will be competing today in the mile. This broadcast will have the elite women's race followed shortly thereafter by the elite men's race. A lot of top competition, a lot of very fast seed times. Yeah, this is setting up for an awesome day for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we thought it was pretty intense yesterday. Get ready for today because the intensity just adds more and more as we continue in this weekend. And not so much where maybe minutes matter, but now where seconds matter. So positioning on the bike, positioning of which equipment you go to, inside and the tangents of running and stuff. All of that matters today, and we'll get to see that as we go.
Yeah, they reset the venue in front of us. The DEKA Mile set up a little bit different, just a down and back for the run instead of the laps around. Obviously, if you're new to the DEKA Mile format, we'll talk through that in a second. Here is the live stream schedule for today. You see this, the elite male and female individual competition. Then this afternoon, just like yesterday, separated by about an hour and a half to 2 hours, will be the elite female teams, then elite co-ed teams, and elite male teams. These two individual races will be fast. The team races will be even faster as seconds matter. Athletes are a little bit fresher. And, you know, what's interesting, I think, with this competition is, you know, assuming everyone on the starting list shows up, in both cases you have athletes who competed multiple times yesterday and did very well in Katie Duke on the women's side, Greyson Kilgore on the men's side. They're both the second seed. But then at the top, you have two fresh athletes coming in with the best times in the world, Tara Jackson and Rylan Shadig. So it's a competition between the fresh legs versus the athletes that are a little bit warmed up and have felt the sting of the competition a couple of times yesterday.
Absolutely. I would assume Katie Duke and, of course, Greyson Kilgore have been training specifically for this. So I imagine they have done multiple rounds to where they have competed something training-wise on one day, woke up the next day, competed the next at a high-end level. I would assume being the stat and the numbers guy that Greyson is, I assume that's what he was putting through them through training. So I'm excited to see how they do. I'm sure their output is going to be just phenomenal. They're going to be right there with it. But, man, the return of Tara Jackson, probably the most decorative DEKA Fit athlete of all time, along with Rylan Shadig. Man, we missed him yesterday, of course, and we missed Tara as well, too, on the fit. But that just means the fresh legs coming into the mile. I wonder what type of performance we're going to see from them because their seed times are both world record times. When you look at it on paper, you're like, that's just unbelievable. It's just unheard of. So to see it in person is going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, Tara Jackson competed in all three events in both the 2022 and 2023 DEKA Fit World Championships. 5 podiums out of those 6 elite races individually, including a podium in all 3 in 2022.
The only one to do it. Yeah.
Won the mile last year and was second in the fit. And then Rylan, of course, has won everything except the strong.
Right.
So he'll be back tomorrow as well. But we saw Tara about 10 minutes ago. She confirmed that she'll be competing this morning. I haven't had eyes on Rylan, but he was in the building yesterday coming in, so he should be ready to roll as well. It'll be very exciting. And a lot of strong competition all the way down the field in these elite races. Again, as is common, right, a lot of the athletes that are qualifying individually, qualifying for elite teams, they're also competing in the mile. So on both the women's and men's side, we have plenty of athletes who we've already seen in action getting after it here today.
Yep, and some new athletes coming in as well, too. So the ones that – and I'm not sure if they competed maybe yesterday, maybe an age group or anything like that, or maybe a team race that we just didn't air, of course. But we got some new names such as like Marissa Pope, who is taking the toe in the line today in the elite field. Now, she was doing all the teams last year. I don't think she trains with Tara, but I know she knows Tara, of course. And I know they're good friends. And then, of course, you have Kayla Citadino as well, who I know trains with Underdog Fitness, Ksenia Golovkina, Kathy Arambach as well. All names that I'm not too familiar with, but from my understanding, did not compete yesterday, so should have fresh legs as well. They might be a little bit lower seeds coming into this, but very well could shake up everything. We saw it like with a Keith Hardwick, for example, who we will see on the male side. They come in on a lower bit seed, but, man, have they finished at a top 5? So they could shake up the podium contention for sure.
And the biggest change, for DEKA Mile specifically coming into this World Championship competition is that more often than not, DEKA Mile is a time trial. Same thing with DEKA Strong, where these are at local gym events, and depending on the setup, maybe you've got 2 or 3 lanes going at the same time, but very rarely are you going to be racing against multiple people at your level in the same way that you are in this competition. So you can see that, in a race setting, performances can be elevated when you have people in front of you to feed off of, or people coming up behind you. So some of these athletes that are,
we saw that yesterday,
a little bit further back in terms of their seat time, there's the potential for them to maybe take a big chunk of time off of that. You mentioned some of the newer athletes. There's, in this women's race, several who competed in the team event yesterday. Brooklyn Nichols, Chelsea Grant, Bethany McChesney as well. They're all in this individual mile, and so it'll be interesting to see what they can do for their first time competing individually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting to see what type of times these women and men can output today, considering that at most gyms that you go to when you do the DEKA Mile, if it's not outside the 160 meters of 80 meters out and back has to start where the door is. And it could be a gym that is very long in length. So therefore you're adding more seconds by going to the station. And that's just, just how the cookie crumbles on that, because that can obviously hinder some time in qualifying. So even though I see let's say a 20:49 from Bethany McChesney, if that was a spot that she qualified with a long gym, I mean, she very well could run a 20:20, right? Which would now put her into 7th instead of 10th. So it does matter. And I love that everything's standardized today for every single woman in here. So we should see probably some PRs today.
Yeah, it's the hidden seconds and transition times that don't seem like a lot, but add up over the course of the race. And again, you've got 10 runs, 10 stations, 18, 19 transitions with all that. Yeah, I've been fortunate when I've done a DEKA Mile and DEKA Strong. It's been in an outdoor gym in Jacksonville, Florida, and the setup is basically like what we see here, all the stations in a row, and a run that's a down and back. So that's a setup that some of these athletes might be familiar with, but others just, again, like you said, depending on the gym setup, this might be new or more advantageous to what they've been working with before.
Yeah, absolutely. I would imagine both of the world records that Tara and, of course, Ryland set this year have been in very ideal conditions. Not so much even weather, but just everything was set up exactly the way they needed to break the world record. And that's fine. I mean, it meets the requirements. There is no rules on it. There's Ryland right there, as we see, warming up on the air bike. However, now everything's an Evo 11 playing field, and I'm going to be real honest, though. I don't think it changes the matter. I think Tara and Ryland are definitely going to showcase their fitness today. Ryland looks ready to go. His recent High Rocks performances have been amazing. It doesn't seem like there's been any breathing issues for the most part. I don't know too much diving into his health conditions, but based off his performances lately, I would say they're pretty strong. I mean, he just broke a world record for the DEKA Mile, so I don't think this man's hurting.
Yeah, we're getting a look at some of these athletes warming up now. Again, we're about just over 10 minutes away from our elite female heat.
So
it's delayed. It's like a couple
right there on
delay.
Sin. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to butcher that name completely. As you can see, Sin right there on the bike next to Ryland. Graceful dismount, maybe 8.5.
Yeah.
Well, Xander, one thing that's on this list, actually, now that I look it over, both men and women, there is no Spaniards competing today. So we definitely had a very international presence yesterday in all the fit competition. I think it's safe to say that we are no longer maybe going to have them. I think the fit is usually maybe their strong point. I don't know how many miles and strongs are maybe over there in Spain. Hopefully we see more of it as the sport continues for 2025, but we are going to have all familiar names here, and it's all North American athletes.
Yeah, we've got 2 Canadians in this women's field, the rest from the United States. And, yeah, to that point, I'm not sure if it's the Spanish and other European athletes either mostly focusing on the fit, or if it's just a situation where the sport's a little bit younger over there, and so there's not as many gyms, adopting the setup and really prioritizing the mile and the strong in the same way that really throughout the United States and now Canada, there are a lot of gyms that have really gone in on hosting, 4, 5, 6 between the mile and strong events every year, giving athletes an opportunity to compete multiple times in their home gym or without having to travel too much, which is a great opportunity that we have here in the U.S. for athletes to get familiar with this format that maybe doesn't exist quite yet, or maybe there's some athletes from Spain competing in the age group. We're not sure about that, but yeah, at least for these elite races, definitely a different flair as it's only North Americans. Yeah, we have 2 Canadians in this field, and then 1 Connor Bell in the men's race coming up in about a half an hour. So there's Tara Jackson. We saw warming up right before the fit yesterday. Thought she might be competing.
Threw us off a little bit.
Threw us off, but clearly she is ready to go. She stopped by near where our broadcast booth is about 15 minutes ago, and she gave us a head nod that, yep, she'll be competing. And certainly the favorite, but she'll have some stiff competition with Katie Duke and then a whole group of athletes that are all within about a minute of each other. You look at the start list, Sengol Akina is the only other one other than Tara and Katie with a sub-20, but then you have 7 or 8 athletes between 20 and 21 minutes. Right. So you'd expect them to be all fairly close together throughout the course of this race.
Yeah, the podium, I would like to say, I mean, I haven't seen Singh compete, so I'm not sure of her level, but I mean, a 1958 is very respectful. But you can see that huge drop-off between Tara and Katie Duke. You know, Tara with an 1853 and Katie with a 1907. That's in ballpark range. I mean, and if Katie, they didn't do this together, I would assume, for qualifying time. So Katie very well could feed off Tara to potentially win this today. But as far as the battle for podium, I mean, you're looking at anywhere between 3 to 10. I mean, 8 women could easily take this third place positioning. And of course, I don't want to ever discredit Marissa Pope and Janelle Teal and Kathy, of course, which I know is brand new into the sport. So, and Caitlin Troy there at the end. But the third place podium, that's going to be something to watch for.
Absolutely. It should be less than 10 minutes away from getting underway. You can see a lot of the male athletes. They're getting their warm-up in now. They'll be competing again about a half an hour after this women's race starts.
So for anybody who's new to the DEKA mile, it's basically just like the fit. Just the only difference is you're running 160 meters in between each station, and that's it. So a lot more intense. Like I mentioned earlier, as soon as we started, seconds matter. It does. Maybe not to the millisecond, but, I mean, 2 or 3 seconds will matter today. I talked to a couple of age groupers, friends of mine yesterday, during the fit that they forgot to start the start button on the assault bike, which is something you have to do here on this particular air bike. If you don't do that in the mile and you hammer it for 10 seconds and realize you're not doing it, that could easily cost you not so much that 10 seconds of time you wasted, but all that energy output, right? Because I would imagine, obviously, much like Bubbles, which, of course, we will not see in the elite field individually, but we'll see them in teams later, you're going to have someone. Greyson Kilgore very well could put another 21-second bike time today. And for all we know, maybe Ryland's capable of a 20-second assault bike time. I mean, with a 15:56 mile time, I gotta see this. You know, next time he qualifies, I gotta ask him to live feed it because, man, that's faster than a lot of male teams. So that's very impressive.
Yeah, and this is a case where you can only run so fast, right? Most of the time that you can make up is going to be how hard you can go on the stations while still maintaining your run speed.
Absolutely.
Like maybe you can take a second or two here or there off of your 160, but you know, especially at this level, it's working the stations and how hard you can push on things like the bike, things like the ergs, without totally blowing yourself up for the remainder of the race. And yeah, you don't get to a 16-minute DEKA mile without hammering multiple stations, to a level that you wouldn't even have fit when you have 2 more miles of running to do.
Absolutely. I think with the ergs, if guys on the fit yesterday were maybe doing a 150, 155 rower, maybe 145 if you're pushing it, guys are going to go a little faster. Now doing a 140, 145, 150, I think it's a little bit more reasonable considering you have a shorter distance of a run afterwards. But just like the fit, the DEKA mile, that 160-meter split in between is just as important as the station work too. Usually the faster runners do well in the DEKA mile as well. But as the weekend progresses, Xander, we definitely kind of see a change in body frames a little bit more. You don't see the more natural runners typically, such as tomorrow. We will definitely see more of the CrossFit-based athlete bodies. And that's mainly just because, no running tomorrow. But But as the mile is like that middle ground to find between the two. So it's very interesting to always see how maybe one performs over the other.
Yeah, and great opportunity for sort of the all-around athletes like a Rylan Shattuck, who obviously has maybe more strength than some of the more run-based athletes you would see in a DEKA fit, but also clearly has the endurance background from decade plus of mountain biking before we really got into OCR and all that. So we're getting our race debriefing. Dave Claxton, another slightly different wardrobe. He's got definitely a whole bunch of options there. We'll probably see a couple of costume changes for him over the course of the day. But again, demonstrating the form on the reverse lunges. These have been points of emphasis. Luke, I don't think we've really seen too many issues with the lunges at this point. It's so early in the race that, athletes really aren't nearly as compromised or feeling it too bad when they get to that point. The burpees, definitely a little bit more kind of riding that line of what's a good rep and what's not. We saw a couple of no reps.
Finally,
in the team races, which is great to see,
yes.
especially involving podium positions.
Yes.
And so, as you see Dave in his capacity now with DEKA Fit officiating, just making sure all these athletes are clear on what the expectations are, the standards they have to meet, because especially in a short race like this, as an athlete, you don't want to put yourself in a position for a judge to no rep you, because one or two extra reps, kind of like what you were saying on the bike, whereas if you go 5 seconds without realizing that the bike has started, not only is it more time, but it's more time on the end when you're already working hard.
We saw last night, obviously you guys did, right, with Magida. He got no rep, one rep. If he would have been no rep one more time, we wouldn't have been having that controversy there at the end where Powell put his hand out, on Magida's back and stuff. Powell and Alphonse would have won that race. So it will cost, if it almost cost someone on the fit, it surely will cost someone on the mile. I will say we've been seeing a few no reps on the burpees, which is fantastic. I don't know how many no reps maybe we've seen with the lunges, but from everything I have seen so far this weekend is that most athletes are doing exactly what you should be. So as we're going forward, I don't think this is no longer going to be an issue, and I don't think athletes are going to find that gray area anymore. I think it's, you dial it down just a bit, but like you said, it saves you from getting no reps. And I'm glad there's finally a judge in there that has no hesitation to no rep you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the lunges are so fast that if there have been no reps, they don't really matter as much.
Yeah.
It's so early in the race, but we'll keep an eye out for that if we do spot anything. But, Dave is following the elite field and making sure that, he's there watching, and, he'll call it out or have the judges do it as well. Like you mentioned, we saw him, we saw Dave himself no rep AJ Golick in one of the team races, and then we weren't quite sure, but David Magida after the race did talk about getting no rep as well. So we're starting to get our athlete call-outs here, I think, momentarily.
I see Tanya right there. We don't see her on the list, but man, she's an athlete to look out for. So there's another lady. Again, we do have 14. Excuse me. We do have 14 on the list. So now with her in there, we get a solid 15 females. So I would assume she is well qualified for this event.
And we get representation from Europe in this field. So what we had talked about with not having any of the Europeans, now we've got one. Tanya representing Luxembourg is in there. So
she's someone to look out for. She had great performances yesterday on the fit. So there's Janelle Teal, one of the stronger athletes. So this may play more into her style. The queen of box overs right there, Marissa Pope.
Let's make some noise for your 10th seed, Bethany McChesney.
Bethany McChesney we saw in the team with Heather White. Now she'll be doing the mile herself.
Colorado. Make some noise for Kayla Cigadino.
And there's Kayla. I believe she is teaming up with Kevin today on the co-ed mile. So she is an athlete to look out for right here.
Would make sense with the Underdog Fitness top. And anyone with one of those jerseys on is a candidate to team up with Bubbles later on.
I agree. All right, Bree Schrader. So this is my partner for later today at the Elite Co-Ed. So I'm going to be 100% biased and pick her for a podium pick today. She's my dark horse. She has a great running background. She's very quick. So we'll see if that plays into her performance today. No Brooklyn Nichols. There's Chelsea Grant and Carmen Woods. Chelsea Grant is also someone to look out for as well, too, making a name for herself on this scene. There's Sin right there, coming in with the third fastest time. Oh, there's Brooklyn Nichols. Okay.
I think she might have been pulling a Derek York and warming up on the other side of the arena before getting called down. Yeah, Brooklyn, a Triple Crown winner last year in age group in 18 to 24, has stepped up to elite this year and seen strong performances from her. So there's Tara Jackson.
The first ultra winner as well, too. So she's very diverse, it seems. Tara Jackson and Katie Duke, the two women that are definitely favored to win this race. You know, we say Lauren Weeks is the greatest of all time, and Tara Jackson is obviously a Hall of Famer already, but I would say she is the greatest DEKA Fit athlete of all time, just based off what she's accomplished from these past 4 years. She's just been around since when it started, and she is a podium threat, a winning threat in every single race she does.
So a lot of strong athletes in this field. Again, the top 3 seed times, Tara Jackson in the red top, Katie Duke right in the middle in the white top, and then Sen Golovkina, the taller athlete in the pink on the left. Those are the top 3 seed times with a bit of a gap between everybody else, but we'll see how this plays out.
Absolutely.
We're just set to get underway here momentarily in our DEKA Fit Elite Women's Individual Mile. And here we go. We are underway, and we're going to see the faster pace from the beginning. Again, only 160 meters, so much shorter runs, about a third of the distance compared to every 500 yesterday.
Kat is taking it out fast. I love it. She's new to the sport. She's down in Houston, Texas. This is maybe her third ever DEKA Mile, and I told her, I said, hey, just do you, go out hot, and just hold on. So, and she's doing exactly that at the moment as Tara whips past her coming into Station 1.
And with her being so new to the sport and not having done a DEKA Fit, this is probably the first time that she's raced in a field like this, in this format, only doing mile gym events. It's just a totally different setup.
It is. She very well could surprise us today. You know, she's coming in with a PR of 21:18. She's very capable of a low 20. But like you said, put yourself in a good scenario going against other athletes that are just as good, if not better, and then you see good things come from it.
So all the athletes working through the reverse lunges. You see Yancey and Dave there checking form, calling out corrections or points of emphasis. We've got a couple of athletes out already.
Wow. Tara a little slower on the lunges, but plenty of time to make up for. There goes Tanya and Kayla to finish it out. Sin right there in second place, I believe, with Katie Duke. And look at Tara already making her move back in the podium spot from that run. Wow.
Yeah, Tara and Katie, the two top seeds, very close together seed times. They're very close together on these runs. There are certainly two athletes who are dialed in on the effort they need to withhold. Compare that to someone like Kat, who's, again, in this field a little bit newer.
Right.
Sometimes you got to take a risk, and we'll see if it pays off for her.
Why not? You're new. Why not? Just do it. You'll learn from it, right, if you end up blowing up. I think this is where Tara, the more experienced athletes will make their move, mainly because, the ergs are something that just requires a little bit of experience, and the run over the erg as well, too, is just as important. So Tara Jackson, I would not be surprised, comes off first in this scenario, and Sin as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only, the machines are opportunity just based on how long they are for the more experienced or stronger athletes to make up some time, but also transitions. It seemed like as Kat was getting on there, Tara kind of came close to catching up with how quickly she was able to get in and in position on the
Rebounded
rower.
Great, yeah. And, even though she's one of the last ones coming out of Station 1, Tara knows what she's doing, right? Just like, honestly, with Bubbles, if he's normally one of the last ones into the first couple stations, you always see him there at the podium at the end. They know what they're doing, and they know how to pace it. They know not to get that maybe the race jitters that maybe Kathia is going through at the moment, as far as taking it out a little bit too hot. She knows where her pace lies, and therefore she's going to continue just to follow the strategy.
And we talk about it a lot in the fit, but it's even more true here in the mile where if you're one of the top few athletes into the zone, you get to use the machine that's closest to the exit. And so that's, again, the hidden seconds that whether it's fighting for the win or fighting for podium position or just where you are in the field, we got to look there. Tara just under 150. So your point there, Luke, earlier, how you're going to be rowing a little bit harder in this format than you would be in a DEKA Fit.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Tara is awesome at the stations. I mean, she holds the world record in the strong as well, too. So I think that plays big benefits, and there she is, playing it smart. She knew what she was doing on the lunges, and she has a very dominant lead right now. So
Tara Jackson won, Sengol Keenan. How about Janelle Teal?
Yeah, Janelle,
She probably might have the fastest row split, I think, based on where she came in versus where she left. And now Tara Jackson trying to use this run. It's not very long, but doing what she can to open up and extend this lead and really put the hammer down and make a point here.
Playing to her strengths, Janelle. That was an awesome move. And here comes Tara. Tara's probably the strongest mile runner out of all these female athletes, so if she's ahead, you know you're in for some work to try to reel her in.
Top three athletes all into the box step overs.
And Kat's still
there's
right
Kat,
there.
And there's Katie and some others. So 4, 5, 6 all pretty close together as well.
Wow, yeah, Kat is flying over these things while Sin, almost a fall. Sin moving just a little slower, but could be a station where obviously she knows maybe it's not her strongest and recover a bit from your heart rate. And yeah, look how long in you got to run back to the boxes if you're one of the last athletes. Well, like Kayla, for example, running in right now. I mean, that was about 2 or 3 seconds just to get there. Kat moving back into second with Janelle in third, Katie Duke fourth, Sin in fifth, Marissa Pope right there in sixth. Wow.
And that's about 10 seconds.
Wow.
I think Tara left right about 5:17, and within 10 seconds, 5 more athletes all come out. So there is a lot of race left. There is a very nice pack forming behind Tara Jackson, who hasn't pulled away, but it's certainly opening up. And Kat, strong on the runs. She's finding herself in second place here.
Yeah, and Katie Duke playing the behind game right now. Maybe this is something she strategized with Greyson. Maybe didn't want to be a front runner in anything. I definitely would not still count her out based off her qualifying time.
Yeah, and just remember, 3 of the 4 longest stations are still remaining. You've got the skier, you've got the bike, of course, and then the sled push and pull. So a station like this, the med ball setups for these athletes, probably not a ton of separation, but more opportunity later on to make up some of that time gap.
Now I did mention, Xander, the DEKA Mile, exactly like the DEKA Fit. There are 2 stations that are different. Oh, excuse me. The Station 4, as we see right now, is now a setup opposed to a throw to a target that we saw yesterday. And also, instead of over the wall, it is now going to be over the shoulders with the dead ball in Station 8. So that is 2 different stations. It does switch up the dynamic a bit of how you move. There is no bubbles throw with the slight, but I figured he's going to move just as fast, of course.
Right. If you've got long arms, you don't have to come all the way up because you can just reach over yourself and put the ball on the ground. Yeah, and I think that's in large part designed because gyms aren't necessarily going to have the equipment needed to do the ball throws or the dead ball overs as opposed to the machines that are useful for training in any capacity. So that's where there's the adjustment there. More or less the same movement, but just slightly different.
Yep, and Katie Duke making her move into third at the moment.
How about Janelle Teal closing in on Tara Jackson? This is a strong race for Janelle, who comes in as the 12th seed with a 21:10 seed time.
I mean, she's probably just in the same boat as any other lady that's coming in on a lower seed or in a higher seed saying, why not? I'm just going to hold on and feel what maybe a 19-minute DEKA Mile feels like and just hope for the best. And she is absolutely crushing it right now. And she's awesome on the machine. So I would not be surprised to see Tara still in first and Janelle just right on her heels outside of this station.
See, there's Tara Jackson first, Katie Duke in third next to each other. Tara in the red, Katie in the white. Janelle Teal in the all-white blue on the other side behind them, currently in second place.
We got the majority of the ladies. We'll definitely see more of a cluster. So during the DEKA Fit, I always like to say, first through third, you'll see everyone together. Stations 4 through 6, you'll start seeing who's ready to kind of contend for the podium. And then after that, you'll definitely see the podium contenders. The DEKA Mile, it's going to be a burpee off. It will come down to the burpees. Maybe not necessarily for first. I hope it is, of course, puts on a great show for us. But more so maybe second and third and fourth and fifth. It will come down to it. The bike, I think, is a big separator as well. But, man, the sled is just as big of a separator for the DEKA Mile.
Yeah, you'd imagine that in every single one of these races, and, of course, with the Strong tomorrow as well, podium positions will be decided at some degree on the burpees.
Absolutely. That's why I like the shorter races. It just makes it way more entertaining.
Looks like right about a 2 flat for
Yeah.
Janelle Teal. I think that was a 2:01 when we got a look at the screen.
And I think that's great for a female.
And Janelle, one of the taller athletes in the field,
Right.
using that to her advantage. You know, just with how long the pull is, you can really get that fan moving.
And
Janelle comes out in
took-
first.
All right. Switching it up a bit, and her run looks strong.
You know, it's interesting with these runs. It's only 160, but you have a couple of those 180-degree turns. So you
Right,
really
right.
don't have a lot of time to get up to full speed. Obviously,
Right.
there's 90-degree corners with the DEKA Fit as well when you've got 8 turns per 500, but there's a bit more room to open up
There is.
as opposed to this race where you've got that 180. So, you know, a little bit less opportunity for some of the stronger runners to use that to their
For
advantage.
sure. Yeah, during the teams, Jason, I hope your camera is very tight on that box because that box might get hit. All right, so Tara and Janelle. I believe Katie Duke is still in third with Kat not too far behind. Marissa Pope I also saw go off the skier. So,
And this is another case where the movement isn't any different, but it's a slightly different setup in the DEKA Mile and
Correct, yeah.
Strong, where instead of the maze, there's the down and back.
Yep.
Again, 10 meters down, 10 meters back, repeat that 5 times. So you still end up going 100 meters, but instead of, again, the maze with 90-degree turns, you have to turn around 9 times here.
and which is far more difficult than the way the Fit has it set up. And considering how slippery the floor is too, hopefully we don't see an incident like Catherine yesterday where it fell, because you're taking some quick turns.
There's Janelle Teal, our race leader, coming into this station. Looks like she has done 4, so she'll be coming out, I believe, right after this one. Tara Jackson out first. So Tara able to make a move on the farmer's carry, pull herself back into first place.
Wow, she crushed it with farmer carries. There's Kat right there and Katie Duke, believe on 2. Or is that 3? On 3rd, okay. The thing with Tara is she's going to look strong on the runs every single time, and she's going to be strong on the runs every time. So if you're not ahead of her going into that run, you better watch out because she's going to definitely more than likely pull away from you.
And Janelle Teal trying to hunt her down.
There, okay. This is going to be, does Janelle light another match? I think she has to because Tara's running. You gotta do it here.
12 minutes into this race, our top 2 athletes have now separated from the field. Tara Jackson on one side, there's Janelle Teal. They've both led at various points of the race. Katie Duke into the zone. Not sure if Kat came in. Looks like she is not. So Katie Duke now into 3rd place.
It looks like a pretty commanding 3rd place. Here comes Kat. Someone right behind her as well. Sin. Okay, Sin's right behind her as well.
So this will be interesting. You mentioned Luke Kat, one of the newer athletes, maybe not as much experience on the bike. Is this where she has to try to burn a match to hang on, and what happens after that, we'll see.
Absolutely.
But now we have 7, 8 athletes. There's Tanya holding her own in the middle of this pack.
Yeah, this is definitely where an experienced athlete is going to pull away, which most of these women are, of course. But the question is, who's going to like the match? So Chris Marks' hand is up, the judge for Tara. So she's probably on her last 5, I believe. I like that the judges are at least holding up. So is that 10 or 20 for Janelle Teal over there to the left? 6 calories.
Looks like we've got a countdown now for Tara.
Okay, Chris has got 3 calories left. Janelle's got 4. So Janelle's only 1 calorie behind. All right, so Tara's about to come off the bike. Solid bike time for Tara. Awesome.
So
And
Tara's
Janelle
out
right there.
only about
All
3
right.
seconds. So here we go. Now the question is, who had to work harder and who's got more for these next couple of runs?
And Katie Duke, I'd imagine this is not one of her stronger stations, of course. I'm sure she's put a lot of work into it, though. But I would imagine her next run is going to be very fast. Tara's looking phenomenal right now.
Yeah, Tara on the inset screen, she is moving, and we can't exactly see where Janelle is in relation to Tara, but they're both putting out incredibly strong performances here today.
Janelle Teal, wow. Put some respect on her name, right? This is awesome. Let's see if she can hold on. We still got 3 more stations.
Tara Jackson into the ball over shoulder now, and you can see that Kat falling a little bit behind as Sen came out, I believe, in 4th. Katie Duke in 3rd. Our top 2 athletes, Tara Jackson, Janelle Teal. 1-2, working through these ball over shoulders. Again, this is a movement that in and of itself isn't too difficult. You just got to be dialed with where the ball's going because you don't want to have to turn around or, add any extra time to this movement.
Yeah, this technique is definitely very ideal, definitely for a high-end athlete. I want to say Kevin probably came up with this technique. Honestly, a lot of techniques that a lot of athletes apply comes from Kevin Gregory. But it's just, I mean, the whole turning around takes so much more time. And Janelle's still right there. Oh, man.
So Tara and Janelle still pretty much neck and neck.
With the sled coming up.
Katie Duke has made some separation. So can she hold on? We'll see. But now Sen and Kat are both in the zone. So Katie definitely has a few rep lead.
Yeah, and it looks like, I mean, Tanya has caught up a lot as well, too. She probably had a stellar bike time. Here comes Bree Schrader and Kayla coming in. And on the far back end, I think that's Bethany or maybe Brooklyn. That's beside Kat on the right side. But these ladies for podium, Katie better hold on because there is a whole group of ladies right behind her for 3rd place.
So here's Tara Jackson on the sled push and pull.
You know, I would like to say Janelle, this obviously being one of the stronger athletes for the female field, that the strategy of not going right next to, she decided to go with the first one in opposed to, or I'm sorry, the last one, because Tara picked the very first one coming into it. But Tara is just as strong as Janelle is too. So I don't know if this is really a station where Janelle will make up too much time, but knowing what Tara is capable in this run, Janelle's going to have to light a match. She has to.
Yeah, Tara's about a half length in front of Janelle right now. And again, I think interesting strategy with Janelle. Either she doesn't want to know how Tara's doing or doesn't want Tara to know how she's doing. Right. Either way, this is not a situation where they can really tell. I mean, I suppose you could glance all the way to the side, but we have not seen that. Janelle Teal here on the screen seems very locked in, as does Tara, standing forward. Now, Katie did come right next to Tara as she tries to solidify her 3rd place position. But there's Tanya, and some other athletes are in now as well. So we've got close to 7 or 8 athletes now all on the sled push and pull. Tara Jackson and Janelle Teal, of course, have separated a little bit from the rest of the field. Tara, I believe, is on push number 4, with Janelle finishing pull number 3. So Tara still maintaining that lead where she's only about 3 or 4 seconds from finishing her push when Janelle starts that push. So right now, Tara is at least maintaining the advantage she has.
So it almost kind of appears that on their last little bit, when Tara is done, Janelle would be basically finishing her pool if this momentum still, to where then their run will be almost identical at that point, considering it will take about 2 or 3 seconds for Tara to run into position where Janelle is. So maybe great strategy after all for Janelle to pick that last one.
So this should be Tara's last pull. And you can see the difference right there. Tara catching up to Katie Duke. Obviously, she's a couple lengths ahead anyway, but just working very efficiently through, and she is out. So Tara Jackson is finished And I think she'll have made her way past the zone. So does still have a lead of about 5 or 6 seconds on Janelle Teal, who is just now finishing. So Janelle is out. And does Janelle have one more match to burn, either on this run or on the burpees? As you can see, Tara rounding the corner with Janelle 6, 7 seconds behind.
If not, this is going to be a huge personal best for Janelle Teal. Representing the great state of North Carolina. Man, probably making a lot of people at home very proud. I know she has a very big social media presence whenever we do live feeds and stuff. So I'm sure people at home are very proud of her at the moment.
So here's Tara Jackson.
All right, does she get no reps? That could be a big difference maker.
And you see Dave Claxton in there. Yeah, Janelle Teal and Tara Jackson, our top 2 athletes, are on the burpees.
We got to get a little more of extension from Janelle. Yeah, there we go. There we go. A lot better. Oh, okay, so Tara's at 7. I think that was 8. Janelle maybe at 3 or 4 at the moment. So Tara definitely has the lead. As long as she keeps the momentum, she should be okay.
And it doesn't look like Janelle is moving noticeably faster than Tara based on like when they're putting the rams up together. Tara might actually be now going faster than Janelle. So Tara Jackson, if she can continue for about another 5 reps, she may be on her way to another world championship here in the DEKA Mile for the 2nd year in a row. Just a couple of reps to go for Tara Jackson.
Oh, this is good. This is good.
And now Katie Duke in at 3rd. Tara Jackson, I believe, has 1 more rep to go. She sets the ram down across the line. And for the 2nd year in a row, Tara Jackson is your elite female DEKA Mile world champion. And now Janelle Teal trying to put the finishing touches on a podium position. Probably just a couple of reps to go for Janelle. As now 5 or 6 other athletes. Janelle Teal, a big PR, a 2nd place. She went for it early. She hung on and secured that podium position. And now
a minute PR. Wow.
Huge PR for Janelle Teal. And now Katie Duke, probably the fastest that we've seen moving through these burpees.
She is flying
Absolutely flying to try and solidify this podium position.
Yeah, because there is a group of ladies right behind her. Kat, I know, coming in 4th. I believe Tanya and then Brooklyn Nichols and Bree Schrader there on the far right. This is going to be a battle right here for other position.
Katie Duke across in 3rd, so that's her 3rd podium of the weekend.
Yeah.
The state of Idaho continues to rack them up between Greyson Kilgore and Katie Duke as Katie comes across in 3rd place. And now we've got a 8-person burpee off.
These ladies are absolutely flying on it, and it looks like Brooklyn Nichols, 4th place. Wow, she flew on those burpees. We pretty much have the rest of the field in here.
Absolutely.
Pure mayhem.
And there's Kat, 5th place.
Solid performance for her. Unfortunately, I don't think she PR'd, but she knew she had to light it early, and she did. She gave us a little bit of a show at the beginning, so good for her, good showing. We'll see her in the future. And there's Bree, 6th place. Not a PR for Bree either, but nonetheless, solid performance. This layout, I would not necessarily say is ideal for a world record, and I don't think we'll see any of that today, both men and female. But
as we heard from some athletes yesterday, ultimately it's a race first. And so the times are one thing. The times are how you get in, and then it's what you've got when you're all running together at the same time. And we saw Tara Jackson come away with a ultimately decisive victory, but Janelle Teal, maybe the MVP of the race, so to speak, given where Janelle was seated coming in 12th to finish 2nd place. And you mentioned Kat Rombach as well. Further down, 13 seed to get a top 5. I mean, impressive showing for some of these athletes that are a bit new to this stage.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. You come in as the higher seed, that's very well respected of getting the podium spot. It seems like easy picks. But, man, that has been so apparent this whole weekend that if you're a low seed, you are just as high of a competitor as anybody else. So this is exciting stuff to see. And I'm going to maybe change up my podium picks for the men then because of that. So there's always a dark horse. Man, Janelle Teal, congratulations. And obviously Tara Jackson, becoming more of a decorative athlete that she already is. Never doubted her for a second to get this win. And hopefully the same for again tomorrow. But Janelle Teal, is she competing tomorrow as well too? So
I would imagine. I mean, with being strong on the stations, her best finish last year in World Championship was the DEKA Strong.
okay,
As we're working through our sheets here, and yeah, Janelle Teal is definitely on the start list for tomorrow. So we could have a repeat of this battle.
That would be awesome.
With a couple of other athletes like a Heather White in there as well tomorrow.
Yeah, because it seemed like Janelle and Tara were very similar on the stations. Just Tara had her on the runs a little bit. So, wow, great showing from all these ladies. Congratulations to Katie for another podium this weekend. She's in all 6 elite races, I believe, that she's possible doing, right? I think she's 2 for 3 at the moment.
Yeah, Katie's
she got 4th in the elite field, I think, 4th or 5th.
There's a look at zone 11 again. Even though the race is shorter, that just makes it hurt even more.
Absolutely. There is no hiding from the pain that you're going to endure during this event. You might as well just accept it.
Yeah, Katie was 4th yesterday in the elite individual, and then podium.
So just missed out for 3 for 3.
Yep.
But, hey, 2 for 3 is great also.
And it's good to see.
And we'll see her again later today.
Yeah, and it's good to see Tara obviously fit. You know, we talked about she was warming up. She was on the start list, the 2nd seed for individual fit, but didn't compete yesterday, but clearly ready to roll for the rest of this weekend. So,
and maybe that was the whole strategy to begin with. You know, I don't necessarily know as to why. Maybe she just, from a high end, if she doesn't feel like she's going to win the race, maybe she's just one of those athletes where if it's not the win, then I'm just not going to compete. And that's, you know, completely respectful.
And how about Janelle? Last year, Janelle qualified in elite fit, individual, and strong. Did not race the mile.
Right.
Not sure she may have raced age group or didn't qualify, but to have your first taste of the elite world championship level competition and to come away with a 2nd place, just incredible performance from Janelle Teal, who is a name that we've seen a lot, you know, in the broadcast that we've done over the last couple of years, kind of in the middle of that pack in some of these deeper races. But for her to kind of now step up to that podium threat, at least in this DEKA Mile format, it's great to see just sort of the growth of athletes as they get more experience in this race over time.
Yeah, because it seems like the regional races, she's always right there, top 3 mark. And then when you get into the world aspect, it starts to fall more into the top 10. But, man, different scenario this year for her.
Obviously, we don't have individual zone splits here recorded. So Tara, it does seem like, made up a bit of time on the burpees. We noticed she was moving a little bit faster than Janelle, ends up winning by 19 seconds. Katie Duke holding off Brooklyn Nichols, who's someone we was in the mix, but not necessarily in that top 4. So she kind of had a very strong end to the race. Didn't exactly see how it panned out. And, of course, Kat Rombach, who's very new to just DEKA Fit in general, like you mentioned.
Excited to see what she's capable of in the future.
To get 5th. And how about that? I mean, look at the separation, 6, 7, and 8, 6 and 7 with the exact same time.
Yeah,
and then Sengolkina just 3 seconds behind. Wow. So we talked about that, how we expected there to be some bunching in the middle of this field. That's exactly what we got.
Yeah, 6 ladies all in the 21-minute range. Then, of course, shortly followed behind Carmen and Marissa right there as well, too. So that was a very exciting race. And only gearing up more for the men here shortly. And some of these ladies that you just saw will be competing in teams as well, whether it be female teams or co-ed. So I don't think we're quite done with Janelle. I'm not sure if she's in the team aspect or not, but, man, if she's not in one, she needs to be in one. So,
Paul, could you wipe your lens, please? Paul, wipe your lens.
All right, going into the men's list now. See Dave going over the rules yet again. But, of course, it's necessary. Letting them know. I bet his voice is very hoarse at the moment. I mean, I can only imagine how fatigued this man is going to be.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably not going to want to socialize for a while afterwards. So, Xander, let's go over the list while we got in front of us. I'm familiar with all these guys. So there's no new faces for me in this one. other than, of course, trying to who may be contending for podium and who's not. I think it's hard to discredit that Rylan Shadegg is going to bring it today, and he's fresh, which is a very scary thing. I mean, he won the mile last year. I think for the first time we're going to see a back-to-back scenario along with what Tara was able to do. I think Rylan's going to end up winning this. I think Greyson, though, if anyone is capable of beating Rylan today, I believe it's Greyson Kilgore. Not discrediting any other gentleman on this list, but Greyson is just absolutely fit right now. I hope to see a 20-second base effort on the bike to maybe make a move on Rylan. So if there's any man to do it, it's going to be Kilgore. So I got those top two. And then, man, the list is so bunched after that. It's hard to go against Cole Walkington for podium because when I raced against this gentleman last night, when he went past me, I felt it. So, and that was the only gentleman that passed me on the run where I felt a breeze go by. It seems like his brother Al is also competing in this as well. I say brother, I'm not sure, but don't discredit, of course. You got Colin Stiefer, who's going to very well make a push for the podium. Mark Paulzine, Keith Hardwick is a dark horse I want everyone to be on the watch for because ended up getting top 5 yesterday in the fit. Joshua Gonzalez, Brandon Bonine, AJ Golick, Aaron Nolan, Connor Bell, Dustin Needham, Joseph Cotto, Al Walkington, Michael Harworth got the roll down, and I think he wanted to compete age group, but obviously very thankful that he got into the elite. He's a good friend of mine from Colorado. And then Johnny Mares coming down from Texas. So right there in the white headband. I see a lot of PRs happening, to be honest. I don't see any world records being broken. And I see a big battle for third.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, at least based on seed times, Rylan and Greyson have kind of separated from the field.
Yeah.
We'd expect them to be 1-2 or at least, in a good position for that. But, yeah, there's going to be a lot to shake out here. The majority of these athletes, not all of them, the majority competed at least once, if not twice yesterday.
Right.
So a similar position where you've got some with fresher legs than others, especially at the top. Greyson Kilgore, second place individual male, won the co-ed teams with Katie Duke. And there's Johnny, first athlete
Mares
called out. So this is a great counterpoint where you've got Greyson with 2 races in his legs, and you've got Rylan who's fresh.
Absolutely. It's going to just make it fun to watch. So
And from Fairfax, Virginia, let's welcome Mr. Joseph
there's Al Walkington.
And from Northern
Joseph
Carolina,
Cotto, of course, which who we know has wheels. So
And
how Joseph did last year.
Yeah, and looking at these seed times again, these are all set at individual gyms.
Second in age group last year. Okay, so
But, Colin Stiefer with an 18:07 seed time
Yeah,
in fourth, all the way down to Al Walkington, 18:59. So that's 11 athletes within about 55 seconds of each other.
right.
Let's welcome Alexander
Connor Bell,
Golden
who's
from Rocky Point.
Great runner as well. Aaron Nolan, just as fast. AJ Golick, awesome at the stations. Looking fit, looking big, looking strong. Brandon Bonine, who is phenomenal at the stations. Competing in probably just as many events as Kevin Gregory down with their Bolt Fitness down in Waller, Texas. Joshua Gonzalez is a dark horse pick. Mark Polzine, one of the older athletes, but can hang with the best of them. Colin Stiefer, man, Cole Walkington's killing it right now. But I'm gonna go with Colin for third.
Yeah, Colin was in the mix. I think he was fourth yesterday.
Yeah.
In the fit individually, so he's clearly
there.
fit and ready.
He's there.
There's Greyson Kilgore, who we've seen on the podium a couple of times already this weekend. And last but most certainly not least, Rylan Shadegg, always in the distinctive kit. Rylan will be easy to spot as always on course. And so, yeah, this field is crazy. And
Grayson's the
fun to
one
watch.
individual I think that can finish in all 6-for-6 podiums this weekend. So I don't think he's competing in any male team aspect. So he could have been 9-for-9 for all we know. But I think he's the one athlete that's capable of it. And I think maybe the only one who could do it, honestly. All right, here we go.
And we are underway here in this elite male DEKA mile. It's going to be fast and furious for about the next 17, 18 minutes.
Does Ryland take it out hot? Does he do what Derek York does best? And I see him right there up front. I'm not surprised.
Yep, more separation at the front than we saw in the women's race with Ryland and then Greyson behind, and then a bit of a pack. Cole Washington right now in third place, but plenty of guys very close to him.
Taking it out hot. I love it. It matters which one you go to. So
yeah, you
saw
saw
the last one.
Ryland, I think, about 3 reps ahead of Cole, and so it's not a lot, but it's a little bit, and that separation will stack up over the next several runs and transitions.
It does. Yeah, look how fast Ryland's moving on his lunges in comparison to Cole right next to him.
And yeah, so for athletes like Joe Cotto and AJ Golick, they're in that 5th, 6th row.
Right.
That's an extra 3 or 4 seconds for them to get out of the zone. So there we go. Ryland 1, Cole 2, Greyson 3 coming out of this station.
Yeah, all bundled up. Not surprised to see these 3 gentlemen. I assume Colin shouldn't be too far behind, though. I mean, we still have the machines coming up as well, too. Brandon Monine, 4th place right now, with Mark Holzine, I think, in 5th. So very early in the race, but you don't want too much separation. If you are pacing yourself, I mean, that's one thing, but you definitely don't want too much separation at the beginning, because that's a lot more harder you got to work later in the race.
Our top 3 athletes all pretty much grabbing the rower at the same time. Greyson Kilgore is someone who we talked to yesterday after a couple of his races. He's dialed in on transitions and just efficiency of movement. So those are the little things that an athlete like that can make up. And we can see that, low 140s right now for Greyson Kilgore.
That's expected. Yep. You might have a gentleman in there that really wants to sell himself and do maybe a 130, 135. I don't think that's smart, but you could have someone in there who's just maybe wants to do it and just see what happens. Other than that, I think you're going to see a lot of 140 to 150 range. 2 minutes, I think, is way too slow for a DEKA mile for elite men. And 155, I don't know, that might be pushing it as well, too, as far as too slow. But
again, because there's not as much time to make up on the runs,
correct.
So you really need to ride that red line as much as you possibly can.
Definitely
even
for
if it's
podium contention.
Yeah, if it's a 8 to 10 second difference on what you're pulling.
Right. Yeah, most of the screens were saying mid 140s. So when yesterday they were probably doing maybe 150s.
So yeah, right, 137 for Ryland.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. Yeah, in total, his split time will probably be about a 140, like 145. The transition involved a little bit. Well, Al and Cole right there next to each other on each rower. I like it. So I'm sure the brothers train together. Ryland out already. Wow.
So that's the first match burned, I think.
look at
Ryland
the
Shattuck
lead.
on the rower.
Yeah.
Greyson Kilgore finishing now.
Wow.
So that's a good 5-6 seconds.
Wow.
And a bit of a stumble there for Cole coming out of it. So
there's Colin, yep. I assume Greyson is off.
There's Al, there's Mark as well.
Wow, Ryland is really pushing the pace right now early. The question is he pushing it too fast at the beginning, or is this just the fitness of Ryland Shattuck right now? He is a world champ, so it's hard to distinguish the two because the man just looks fit as can be right now.
Yeah, and he's about halfway through
Grayson's
these box
second.
step overs before Greyson even came into the station. These are both taller athletes, and so, I mean, not that this zone is much of a challenge for anyone in this field, but they do have longer legs than someone like Cole Walkington, so you can use that to your advantage and try and move through it a little bit quicker. Bit of a stumble there from Al, but able to save himself.
One of the benefits of maybe being one of the last athletes, too, is that you can see Joseph Cotto came into the very first box, mainly because Ryland was already done with it. He was just very fortunate to be there at the right time. That could help Joseph in a few seconds right there.
So I think Cole might have been running a little bit faster than Greyson because I think he caught up from the gap that they had coming out of the rower. So right now, Ryland Shattuck clear away in first place. Greyson, Kilgore, Cole Walkington, second and third. And off screen, we could see Brandon Bonine, Al Walkington, now Joseph Cotto all around in the corner. So a lot of positions to shake out. We do have a bit of separation at the front of this race, but we're still not even halfway through. And yeah, look at how fast Ryland is moving through these dead ball sit-ups.
Killing it. And here comes Greyson in second. Cole pretty much going to the same spots. Ryland obviously takes the very first one in from the closest to the run. Greyson takes the one beside instead of right next, and Cole, of course, taking the one that's always right next to Ryland. So smart. We'll see a smart strategy. I mean, I know for Greyson, I don't know if maybe the bike, he decides to get right next to Ryland. He said it yesterday in the interview. He wanted to get next to Dylan and try to ruffle some feathers and scare him a little bit. Maybe he works from behind here, but when it comes to the bike, he's got to get right next to Ryland.
So Ryland's out. Now Greyson is out. And Cole is as well. So our top three are all back out on the run.
These guys are flying. There's Colin, not too far behind. Dustin Needham right there.
And Colin's in a bit of a tough spot right now. He's got a bit of a gap on the two athletes behind him, but also fairly far behind our second and third place athletes. So Colin's sort of in no man's land in fourth place, and we'll see if he can keep himself close enough to maybe if someone blows up on the bike, that he can be there to scoop up a podium position. Ryland Shattuck already on the ski erg. Here comes Greyson and Cole. Again, same positions on the stations. We see Grayson's technique. That becomes a trademark at this point, the way that he goes arm over arm.
Technique. Yeah, now the question is on the next station, does Ryland take the very first set of farmer carry? Do you run all the way to the end and take the last farmer carry so you're even quicker on the runs afterwards?
Yeah, the farmer and the sled. To be honest,
I don't know if it really matters.
Yeah, those are the two stations where there's that opportunity because there's so much width to the zone compared to some of the others.
Now, yesterday these gentlemen were probably doing a 150, 155. I would say more in the 145 range for these gentlemen today. Yeah. Maybe 150 at the highest.
With the brightness of the screen, can't quite tell what Greyson was pulling there.
Maybe
it was a 147 for Colin. Yep. So just as you said, that kind of mid 140s for these athletes.
It's definitely necessary. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryland's a low 140 right now. Looks like Cole's a 130. No, maybe.
Yeah, I think I saw the same thing as you. It looked like it said 134. So.
Oh, choosing to wait a little bit and let the roll up. Okay. Clearly didn't cost him.
Yeah, Ryland saving, a little bit of effort there waiting, and he's clear away.
Wow. Man, he has got a great lead right.
I mean, we didn't get a look at what Ryland was skiing, but clearly it was probably sub 140 based on the separation he now has over Greyson.
That had to have been. Wow. I think he just upped his lead even more from that station.
And now Colin right behind
there.
Cole. So Colin Stever has pulled himself closer to third place. Plenty of shakeups still to come with the bike and the sled. As Ryland Shattuck, our race leader, grabs the farmer's carry. This is zone number 6, so we're more than halfway through this race. Ryland coming up just now on 9 minutes.
The station taxes you a little bit more than you expect. Mainly because you keep your core engaged the entire time while doing the farmer carry to balance yourself, right? It will up your heart rate afterwards. Yeah, definitely a lot of times, too, when people are holding any type of object, we tend to hold our breath, and we don't breathe as often as probably we should.
And look at Ryland moving. He's 2 full lengths ahead of Greyson and moving faster.
Yeah, Colin is moving pretty good, too, knowing that these next few stations is where he's lighting his match, knowing the bike is coming up.
And look at this, in sync. Colin Stever and Cole Walkington right now tied for third, essentially. Greyson Kilgore is moving well. He's almost a full length ahead of those two. Ryland is out. Greyson, I think, has one more down and back.
Yeah, Greyson better watch out too, because Colin and Cole can definitely feed off each other, just like what Cole and Greyson were doing earlier.
So Greyson's out as well. Our top two athletes back on the run course, although Ryland is probably coming.
About a 20-second lead. Wow.
Yeah, Ryland is already rounding the corner and about to come in.
All right, Colin officially third right now with
To
Cole
the
shortly
bike.
behind.
So here we go. Now we're going to find out who's deciding. Is anyone going to really sell out and go for that,
Let's see
20 to second or so bike?
All right,
We'll find out.
10:24. All right. Oh, he's hammering it. He has to. I mean, because Greyson's going to get right there behind him.
What did Greyson say? Don't be scared of the bike. Be the person who people are scared of
Yep,
on the
and
bike.
he's going to get right. Yep, there it is, right next to him. I love it. Playing the mental game.
So Ryland coming up on about 30 seconds
Ryland's
now.
got 4 cows left. Not a bad air bike time for Ryland right now. That's a solid air bike time.
So Ryland's out about 41 seconds
yeah.
for Ryland. I didn't see the exact time. You know that Greyson's probably going to be faster on this bike split than Ryland. The question is, how much of that 41 seconds tax Ryland, and can he maintain this lead? There's 2 cows left. Greyson finishing it up now. He'll be off momentarily.
Greyson about a 35-second air bike. So faster air bike slightly, but did it cost him?
Did it cost him, and was it fast enough? And Ryland seems to be moving fairly well now, kind of composing himself. He's got a station where that heart rate can come down a little bit on these ball-over shoulders.
Ryland's moving so good right now, though. I don't see where he is slowing down at all. This man is moving. And that was a solid bike performance, even being in front. A great strategy for Greyson, but, I mean, I think Ryland was just too far into the air bike to really set any mental game.
Yeah, I think that bike time for Greyson might have helped bury third and fourth place
Correct,
more than it's going to help him catch up to Ryland here. But still some race to go. There's 2 more runs, and obviously the sled push and pull. Greyson, an athlete that's more than capable of putting down a pretty fast time on that. And Ryland is out
so
as Colin Seifer comes in. So Colin has now opened up a little bit of a gap on Cole.
Yeah. Looks like a pretty big gap at the moment. So
we didn't really see much of Colin and Cole on the bike, but yeah, so Colin Seifer, definitely a strong athlete coming in and making his move. So right now, looks like our top 3 might have separated themselves from the field. The question is, does Cole Walkington, who comes in now in the yellow shorts, does he have enough left to try and pull back Colin Seifer? But Colin, black shorts, front of the main screen here, is now close to about 10 reps ahead of Cole at this point.
Does Cole have another light to match right here? So I think I was trying to do the numbers. Ryland, I believe, is 30 seconds ahead of Greyson Kilgore right now. So a very solid lead. He very well will be on the second push and pull by the time Greyson gets there.
Yeah, I think that being more than a full lap, so to speak, ahead on this push and pull, I think mentally is going to help, because Greyson, yes, he can try and chase down Ryland, but he's still a lap down.
Right.
Ryland is on his second pull right now as Greyson is midway through his first push. "14 minutes in, Ryland Shadegg coming up on the halfway point of zone number 9. Again, 100 meters of sled push and pull, 10 down, 10 back, repeat 5 times.
Yeah,
and it's the back wheels have to cross the red line in both directions, so that's the movement standard here.
Colin's moving very solid right now. Yeah, 5 times. Colin's very solid right now. I'm wondering if he's riding off pretty high momentum. Greyson better watch out if of course, it didn't cost him too much to go hard on that bike. I mean, I know he's kind of 1 full length behind, but it's very possible.
Yeah, Colin Seifer right next to Greyson Kilgore. And Colin's moving a little bit faster, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make maybe 5 to 7 seconds and then just sell yourself on that run and hope that momentum and adrenaline carries you on the burpees, anything's possible.
Yeah, not a huge difference, but noticeable because on the last time they were pushing it down, Colin was a bit behind Greyson. He's
Right.
nosing himself a little bit in front and continuing, I think, to put
Wow.
distance between himself and Cole Walkington currently in fourth place. So Rylan Shattuck, race leader, is out on his last run, and he's about 100 meters and 20 burpees away from a world championship.
I wonder what Ryland's winning time was last year. Because it's the same setup. He's not going to get his world record time, which is expected, of course. But, man, he very well could definitely see a high 16, low 17 DEKA mile.
I think Ryland's going to be starting these burpees before second place Greyson Kilgore even finishes the sled pull. So
very
Rylan Shattuck
win.
has pulled away here in the second half of this race and will now work his way through the burpees. Greyson is done.
All right.
So Greyson is about 90% of a length ahead of Colin.
Yeah, Greyson should be able to hold on to the second place finish. I think he's experienced enough to where it won't matter. But Colin, I don't know if Colin need to watch out for Cole at all.
Yeah, over the last 2 or 3 zones and runs, Colin's definitely put a gap on Cole Walkington. The question is, did that cost him a bit too much? We'll see.
Right.
So right now, Greyson Kilgore there, the inset screen. He's finishing up this run. Rylan Shattuck is close to halfway through his burpees.
Yeah, and Rylan seems like he's just on cruise control right now, which he's fine. He's definitely going to take this win. I think he's got 4 more left. He knows there's no point in a very special time. It's just get the win, solidify it, become the first male to ever go back-to-back in the DEKA Mile Championship, add his 3rd world title to his belt.
I tell you what, though, Greyson Kilgore is hammering these burpees.
Yes, he is.
He's close to halfway done as Colin comes in. So I think Greyson, the way that he's working right now, has got that second place. Rylan Shattuck will cross the line 17-19 about as he wins the DEKA Mile World Championship for the 2nd year in a row. And now the podium positions seem to be in place as Greyson Kilgore and Colin Stiefer, the only other 2 athletes here in the burpee zone. Greyson just 3 reps to go.
Well, it appears that my podium picks were right.
And there it is. Greyson sets it down. He gets second place yet again individually. Sure, he wanted to be one more step up on the podium, but so far 3 podium finishes overall for Greyson Kilgore here so far this weekend.
Absolutely.
And now Colin Stiefer trying to hold off Cole Walkington.
Yeah,
Colin in a good position.
Cole can fly on these burpees, but I think Colin has just enough of a rep lead to where a fast pace isn't going to come into play.
And how about Joseph Cotto?
Yeah.
Now in 5th place. He's someone we saw early but didn't really see approaching this top 5.
And then we got Al Walkington also in there. Here comes Connor Bell, Aaron Nolan.
So Colin Stiefer is across in 3rd place. So there's your 1, 2, 3. Rylan Shattuck, Greyson Kilgore, Colin Stiefer.
And Mark Polzine, of course, over there with Al as well.
Just a couple of reps
still
left.
hasn't finished yet, so I don't know if he's being no-repped or... Oh, no, okay. He's not in there. My apologies.
Yeah, that gap
so I guess
on the 3rd row, that gap is where Colin was.
Yeah. So Cole Walkington taking 4th place.
And now I think we've got a battle between Al Walkington and Joseph Cotto for 5th.
Not sure if this is Colin's first DEKA World podium at all.
Well, individually, I believe so. He competed in all 3 last year elite individual, but was 7th, 4th, and 5th. So Joseph Cotto is across. He takes 5th place. A strong second half of the race for Joseph, who came in as the 13th seed. Yeah.
Killed it. And then Connor Bell also just finishing, coming in as the 11th seed, getting 6th place.
I think Al is across as well because I don't see his red heart rate strap. There's Mark Polzine.
Oh, well,
Now we got a whole horde of guys coming in. Joshua Gonzalez finishing as well.
Yep. I think maybe a little controversy with Aaron Nolan's ram there at the end. Didn't seem too pleased when he crossed the finish line, and Dave quick to follow behind. So maybe we got slight insight on that. Because it does appear that he kind of dropped it there at the end. Not anything crazy, but a drop is a 30-second penalty is what Dave said. So he's being very strict this weekend.
And we got our last few athletes in there now. Dustin Indian, Brandon Bonine as well. Brandon, someone who was up closer to the front early on, so kind of had to sell out.
There's AJ Golick right there, a very beloved athlete, a very decorative athlete also, too. He's got a few world titles underneath his belt, and the man's only 24 years old. Awesome job, AJ. Way to step up to elite. That's a guy who can very easily win his age group, and he belongs in the elite. And if he'd rather get a top 10 in the elite type situation, good for him, because he is going to be a very decorative athlete when it's all said and done. Oh, here comes Aaron Nolan. All right. I think he's going to come out and finish a rep because I think he dropped his ram roller. There's Dustin Needham finishing strong, a fellow Raider fan.
And now Johnny Mares in as well.
And I think that's Brandon right next to him.
Yeah, you can tell these athletes are feeling it.
Yeah, they are.
They've been absolutely redlined for the last 20-plus minutes.
Absolutely. Nowhere near their PR time, so they're just saying, hey, and I know Brandon's racing again later today, I believe, for male teams. So why sell yourself right now when you know it's kind of out of reach? There's no point. Or no, Aaron Nolan's, I guess, going to go talk to his judge. So and there's Dustin Needham finishing. Brandon and Johnny go way back as well, too, being the Grit Team Fitness as well. But finishing strong. Great job, Johnny. Finish it out, man. Finish it out. Johnny has come a long way for his fitness as well, just in a matter of a couple of years.
And Johnny, another guy stepping up to elite here in this race.
Right.
Had 2 podiums in our age group, 35-39 last year. And just like AJ Golick, I think AJ, at least in terms of race profile, very similar to Brooklyn Nichols on the female side, where they both were on the podium in all 3 events in 18 to 24 last year, younger athletes in the sport, and able to step up to elite and not quite make the podium yet individually, but hold their own and continue to grow in the field. And so AJ, I think, was second place in his age group in the fit yesterday. Obviously a podium finish in teams as well. So he's someone who we'll see a lot more of this weekend, I think.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we'll see him in the strong with Kevin, who won the world title last year, of course. So it's a great combo. We'll see if they can be dethroned or if they just still reign as kings. And we got our last place, Johnny Mares. Congrats, man. Way to finish it out, though. Way to stick through it.
I believe everyone across now, you can see Johnny Mares in zone 11 feeling it. And there's our results. Rylan Shadig kind of took command of this race right about the halfway point.
He did, yeah.
And ended up maintaining that lead over Greyson Kilgore. Greyson, hard work on the burpees. We don't have the splits, but I think Greyson might have been 10 seconds faster than Rylan through that zone to hold off Colin, who had a great second half of the race. I think Colin Seifer and Joseph Cotto maybe ran some of the smartest races, obviously outside of Rylan, who took it himself. But those two kind of worked their way up, made up 3 or 4 spots for Colin to get on the podium, for Joseph to come out in 5th place. That's a very strong showing for someone who's a stronger runner. For him to finish higher up in the mile than the fit says something about the work that he's put in on the stations.
Correct, yeah. And you look at the first place, second place time split right now, you would think, oh, Greyson right behind Rylan. Rylan was in total control of that race the entire time. Rylan, of course, was just on cruise control there at the end. So I think we're about to get our ladies for some interviews. I will say, though, Xander, I think I'm going to let you take this because I have to compete in the next 20-something minutes. So I think I got to let you take these interviews, of course. I'll do one with Janelle. This is a new face right here that we haven't interviewed yet. So yeah, I think you pulled down, or it might be backwards actually. Yep. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll say it's race brain. Don't worry.
Right, that's right.
All right. Well, Janelle Teal, congratulations. Your first DEKA World Championship podium, right?
First one,
Awesome.
yes.
Congratulations. Second place. Coming into this at a much higher seed than obviously your placement. But now, even though you came in at a higher seed, was the mindset podium or bust, win or bust? Walk us through it. How does it feel?
I wanted to podium,
Okay.
of course. I know that I'm pretty fast at sprinting. It doesn't necessarily translate well like over into the fit, but I figure the shorter distance I might have more of an advantage.
Okay.
So I just did my first one, kind of felt it out, see how it felt. It felt okay. When I know that I'm not the fastest on the lunges, so I knew I'll probably be 6th or 7th out of the lunges, but I can always make up time on the row. So that was my plan going in. Whatever place I come out of the lunges is fine. Make up some time on the row, try and get out of the row 2nd or 3rd. And then when I came out of the box overs, I was 3rd or 2nd, maybe 3rd. So from there, I was like, okay, your next opportunity is the ski. I mean, I'm pretty fast on sit-ups too, so I think I was out of sit-ups
crushed
quick.
it. Absolutely.
And then ski, hold a 2-minute pace, 1:59 pace, and then that's where you can make up a few more seconds. So I came out of one of them first. What zone? I don't know what zone.
Yeah, it might have been.
It was right in the middle. Yeah, I think
actually.
you and Tara switched off at a certain point. I think we had noticed that kind of the middle part of the race is when Tara really started to pull away a little bit from the rest of the field. But you were right there.
Right.
It was like, Tara's gapping the rest of the field, but Janelle is right there with her. And it, as we saw it, it's like if you can continue that effort and output, then you've got a good shot at the podium, and that's exactly what we saw.
Yeah, I think it was the skier that you were ahead because I mentioned that I think Tara was going to have it, but you were going to be right there on her heels, but you came out in front. So, and we know what Tara is very capable of on her runs and stuff as well, too, obviously with how decorative of an athlete she is and stuff. But your runs look very solid as well, too. So you crushed it, and we were not surprised to see how well you did at the stations. Now, at any point of the race, though, did you feel like there was a moment where you might have lit a match too soon, where maybe that there was going to be a station that you dreaded going to, where you maybe feared 3rd and 4th may come and take over 2nd place? Or was that ever in your head, or were you pretty confident where you were?
I was comfortably uncomfortable.
Okay.
So, and I knew when I got to the bike, I felt like I would be one of the fastest ones on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like if somebody was catching me, I would gain a few more seconds coming out of the bike because I felt like I would be off before quite a few of the females. And then from there, it's just hang on.
Right.
I mean, I was hanging on the ball overs. You can kind of regain your breath a little bit, but then you got to go for the last two. So the ball overs, my pace was good. I heard Tara's count. I heard my count. I felt like I was going a little bit faster than her. She got out before me. And from that point, it was just like, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
The sleds I knew from yesterday, they were moving well.
Right.
So I was trying to, she went to the first one, and I was like, well, I'm going to go to the one closer to the out.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I didn't want to be beside her. I just went to the one closest to the out.
I like it.
And I was trying to just mind my business.
Sure,
I peeked over a few times, and I could see that she was still ahead of me. But, and then at the burpees, I mean, the burpees too, I'm not the fastest, but me and Tara's times are similar. I know all her times. We're pretty close in zone time. So I was trying. When I got there, she was 3 ahead of me. So I didn't know if I could pick it up.
Sure.
I don't know if I had the energy for that, but I just tried to stay close. I felt comfortable in my 2nd place because I knew I had 40 seconds on.
A good gap.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's awesome. That's
Thank
awesome.
Yeah, I think, for this DEKA mile format, obviously, you put your time down in whatever gym that you go to, and this is the only time all year that you can really compete in this format with everybody going at the same time. And so, yeah, but I guess it's just interesting to sort of see where you stand in a situation like that where, yeah, you raced yesterday and most of these athletes, Tara didn't, but it's different. And you talked about how this run suits you maybe a little bit better than the 500s on the fit, and that clearly paid off for you.
Yes, agree. Because when I was at the start line, you don't know what anybody is capable of. I mean, you
Right.
have all the time, but like you said, you don't know what the format was in the gym that they did it in. So
Correct.
it's just kind of like you just go out and do your best because my 21:20, I only did 1 mile this year, and that was on the last day.
So this is your second
This
one.
is my second one. I
Wow.
did one
Okay.
last chance qualifier, and I got a 21:20.
Uh-huh.
And it was I drove 2 hours, warmed up 30 minutes, did the race, did okay, got a roll down spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then my husband is like, you're fat, you can sprint, you're fast, you're
Yeah,
fine. You got
yeah,
this. So worked out well.
And I think the competition brought it out in you as well, too,
Yeah,
right?
I think so, yeah.
Well, Janelle, at one point in the race, I said that you were definitely out here to make a name for yourself, put some respect on your
That's
name.
right.
I love it. Janelle, congratulations on your second place finish, and hopefully another repeat of podium or a potential win tomorrow on the Strong.
Yeah.
Will we see you in any team format?
I am doing strong teams tomorrow also.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
elite wise.
Yes.
Okay, and who's your
Yep.
partner there?
Her name is Jordan Falcone. She
Okay.
is like the one who is all over me on my rowing form.
Okay.
So yes.
So
yes.
is she your coach?
She is a coach.
Okay.
She's very strong. She's power. She's more power than me. So
Okay, so we'll see you in the team aspect. Okay, because we were talking about that I don't think we see you much in a team atmosphere, or at least
No,
personally.
I haven't. I really
Okay.
haven't done one. I did strong teams with her. She's a great partner. Maybe me and Tara should partner up and do something.
Oh, I would
for
love
next
it.
year.
Go ahead, talk to Yancey about possibly doing that. So awesome. Well, Janelle, congratulations
Thank
on your
you.
second place finish, and we're hoping to have an interview with you again
That's
tomorrow.
right. I'll see you
So
tomorrow.
yes, absolutely.
All right, looks like we've got a few of our other
Yeah, I think they're
podium
kinda,
athletes lurking
got
around.
the
So
yeah, we'll over there. Thank you, Janelle.
thank you.
All right, Xander, I'm going to let you have this one because I'm supposed to race in 15 minutes. So
All right, sounds
we'll
good.
go ahead and get both of y'all out.
Yeah, why not? Bring him back.
Yeah, look at that. Let's go ahead and get comfortable. Let's have an interview together.
I swear we have different clothes. I swear we have different clothes. This way?
Yeah. No, sorry. Other way. Yeah, there you go.
Terrible. Put that on. Cover it up.
All right, we got a couple more podium finishes for Katie Duke and Greyson Kilgore. We saw you individually, Greyson, here talking to us yesterday, and then obviously the teams with you guys taking the win, and now a third place for Katie, a second place. I guess it's a faster race, it's a more intense race. It went well. How whoever wants to take it first, coming in, did the output kind of meet your expectations? How did it all go for you?
Yeah, I think we both knew what we wanted to do today and who we were running against and had a game plan. And I think that experience is really helpful at the World Championship to know, like, all right, people are going out in front of Tara. I'm not going to do that. And I knew just to, like, run my race and what stations are my stations and when to make a move, kind of, and to just kind of stay steady. So I'm pretty happy with the outcome.
Yeah, I think we noticed that on the first run there were a few competitors who really took it out, but I think Tara was in the middle, fifth or sixth, and you were right there, on her shoulder, and so I think that makes sense, right? Knowing what she's capable of and making sure that you don't get out too far ahead of her. I think really for both of you, the athlete that ended up winning didn't compete yesterday, so you guys were both warmed up in a sense, but also maybe a little more fatigued than they were. So how do you think that played out? Did you feel yesterday's efforts at all in your body, or how did that go?
Yeah. Yeah, when you're warming up, the first thing I notice is that my nervous system is like shocked when you start moving again. Like people think about the soreness, that the damage to your muscle fibers, but really the first thing that takes a hit is your nervous system. It takes a long time to warm back up. It takes a long time to convince it to get going, and then really I get into my race and I was like, whoa, I got some reps on my body today, and had to like make a change to the plan throughout the race. Rylan and I qualified together at kind of the same. He came to our gym, did our event. I know that our qualifying times are not that far apart. It was very, very early in the race. I was like, I gotta let that guy go. There's no hanging with him. I immediately felt the reps in my body. Thought, okay, I'm just gonna kind of run my race and see what I can pull off.
Yeah, and we noticed that Rylan, at least later in the race, he sort of was coming off the bike as you were getting on, and then with the sled, he was a couple lengths ahead of you, but then Colin was basically right next to you. You were ahead of him. So are you able to use that at all to kind of assess where you're at? He ended up in third place, but you had a decent gap on him. So at that point, did you feel like you had second place pretty secure at that stage?
Yeah, if you do this enough times, you can kind of tell based on like where people are at in a zone. So I knew on getting off the bike, I was like, okay, I just created a big gap. And then kind of watching where Colin was on the tank push-pull, I was about one length ahead of him. And I thought, okay, there's no amount of running and burpees he can do to catch me at this point. So from there, okay, like run a smart run and make sure that all of my burpees are clean, and second is mine.
And then, Katie, for you, about the midpoint of the race, I think the ski erg was when Janelle came out slightly ahead of Tara, and they had kind of put in a little bit of separation. For you, were you feeling any pressure to try and chase them down, or were you comfortable in sort of where you were at, the effort you were putting out to know, hey, if I try to close this gap, it's going to cost me too much more? And, I guess for you, able to hold on to third, it seemed like you were pretty secure in that spot.
Yeah, I think I was pretty settled into third at that point. And I just wanted to create as much gap as possible at that point from the person behind me. So like when I got to the bike, and mentally on the bike, I was like, I'm sprinting off this bike no matter what. I'm going to feel terrible. I might as well go as fast as possible and feel terrible. And then I knew those next stations are like good stations for me where I can just gain a little bit more space. And then for both of us, if we get into the tank before people, those next, like the rest of it's ours.
Yeah, it seemed like both of you were moving, I think, faster than anyone else in the top 5 or so on the burpees. So clearly, I think that's a sign that the effort that you put out was right on that line, because you still had enough to really go for the 45 seconds or whatever it needs right at the end.
For sure, and I think he's right on. I think it speaks a lot to our programming this year and the training he's written for me, because like my legs feel pretty good actually. And maybe it's because High Rocks hurts so bad that like I've gotten used to that more. But I think overall we're hanging in there pretty good. So
Absolutely. The way that you ran off the bike was nuts today. Like people were shocked because you were pushing it on the bike, then you just got off and hammered it. And we're like, whoa, she's gapping on the run after the bike. We were pumped about that.
Yeah. It freaks people out. That's what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah, and it's got to be nice, obviously, training together, working together, but also more or less preparing for the same races. It's kind of like you can sort of combine on coming up with a game plan of not just how each race is going to go, but handling the weekend in totality, because we're, at more or less the halfway point. There's still a lot of time to go. So you guys have put out so far through 3 races each, and so far so good. It's got to feel nice to be back on the podium for sure.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. So. On that note, something I would want athletes to know is like, she's racing 6 times this weekend. I'm racing 5. We have an ultra mindset fueling strategy where before every race we're taking a gel or a goo, and then immediately when we're done, we're hitting another goo. We're getting our stuff in, and like our fueling is focused for Sunday evening. So everything we do is like, hey, you get up off the ground, you get to your fueling, you recover, massage gun, all that stuff, and then you get ready to go. So for athletes out there who are trying to race multiple times this weekend, you need to have a fueling strategy in place and have your fuel designated for each day, just ready to roll. And you'd be surprised how good you feel if you do it right.
Yeah, those are the little details that you guys talked about yesterday in terms of the race itself, but fueling is just important. And the nutrition that maybe you don't need for that one race, it's going to benefit you later on in the day and tomorrow. So we'll see how that plays out. It's been great so far. Greyson, Katie, thanks again for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you here again later today and even tomorrow too.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. So I know Luke is getting set to compete. I'm not sure if we have anyone else nearby. So I think, are we going to pull up the results here to go through, or close to wrapping up this elite individual coverage? So here's a look at our elite female DEKA Fit individual race. We've got the replay through the reverse lunges. We just heard from Katie Duke, kind of making sure that she didn't get out too fast, knowing that Tara was there to kind of work off that pacing, and Tara Jackson herself able to make some separation. But how about the performance for Janelle Teal? We heard from her. Janelle talked about how she knows she's a little bit stronger on these shorter runs compared to the DEKA Fit, and powerful on the stations as well. That really paid off. Tara and Janelle were very close together for the majority of this race. Tara a little bit ahead of Janelle there, but Janelle made the first move to pull ahead of Tara momentarily. I think that was the only zone that Janelle came out in front, but these two athletes very close together. You see Tara there and Janelle, who it was part of her strategy to take the opposite part of both the farmer's carry and the tank push and pull, kind of do her own thing. The air bike can be a difference maker. Wasn't really in this race, as our first and second place athletes came in together and then worked their way through it very well. Tara coming off. Katie Duke, you see there in third place. Kind of at that point, I think she had known that first or second might have been a bit too far away, but was able to hang on for third. And then on the burpees, Tara Jackson, last year's DEKA Mile World Champion, or I think second place last year. She had won the year before, getting back on the podium. You see the separation there with 1-2 on burpees together before third place was in. Tara Jackson finishing, Janelle Teal a couple of reps behind her, and then Katie Duke maybe working faster through the burpees than any other of those athletes. And there's the podium. Tara Jackson in the middle. First place, Janelle Teal. Second place, and then Katie Duke. And over on the men's side, Rylan Shadig, maybe not quite on the first run, but very early in the race. Rylan made it clear that he was not here to mess around. And Greyson, with some interesting intel that we didn't realize that Greyson and Rylan essentially qualified together at the same gym. So those seat times, at least, were done in very similar environments. And Rylan, with the fresh legs coming in, was able to give a little bit more throughout the course of this race and just sort of steadily built and maintained a gap over Greyson Kilgore. Greyson himself pretty solid in second most of the way. There was a lot of movement, though, in the middle of the top five. As Cole Walkington there in the yellow shorts, he was up there with the leaders early, but Colin Stiefer had a very strong second half of the race and was able to take down Cole Walkington a bit later on. There's Joseph Cotto, who was way far back in the field at this stage, but ended up in fifth place as well. So Rylan, very strong skier. You see Rylan using the same strategy as Greyson. So maybe that training weekend in DEKA Mile competition in Idaho, they worked on that skier strategy. We haven't seen that really from any other athletes, but both Rylan and Greyson kind of the hand over hand to get the machine going. And you see Rylan there waiting. The little things matter. Rylan thinking that the fan was going to spin those last few meters, didn't have to do any more pulls, and that's just a tiny bit of energy that you can save for later on in the race. At this stage, Rylan Shadig was pretty well in front. Oh, look there at Greyson Kilgore at that point. I think a quick look over his shoulder to see if he could tell where Rylan was. Rylan finishing the bike right as Greyson started it. I think at this point we realized that as long as Rylan had enough left, this race was probably his, but Greyson definitely made a move on the bike to kind of put his second place to rest. Colin Stiefer as well with a very strong bike. So that's where the podium was decided, with Colin Stiefer decisively pulling into third place ahead of Cole Walkington, and then Rylan into the burpee zone, well clear of Greyson Kilgore. I think Rylan was about halfway done with his burpees by the time Greyson came in. You saw there Rylan Shadig with the win. There's our podium now. Greyson Kilgore and Colin Stiefer second and third next to each other. Colin coming across as Cole Walkington in fourth place right behind him. So a very exciting, strong performance. We had two race favorites that both came in with the top seed times, fresh legs, and they both ended up winning. So we're not even halfway done with today's race. We've already had our elite individual male and female races, but coming up in a little over an hour, we will start the team races. And so if we thought these miles were spicy, the team races will be even faster, with our elite female teams coverage beginning at 1:15 p.m. Again, a little over an hour. So we'll see you then. I know my broadcast partner, Luke Hartleman, is about to compete, so he's getting back out on the race course. So excited to see how he does in his heat, and we'll be back. So keep it locked to the OCR Report here on YouTube, and we'll have all the elite race coverage for the rest of this DEKA Fit World Championship weekend.